welcome to the Daily Creative Challenges in Adobe Illustrator. I'm your host, Julia Vaca. Welcome everybody. Happy Wednesday. I hope you all are having a great week so far and having fun with the Daily Creative Challenges. We had some fun with color palettes yesterday, and I was honestly so impressed with all of y'all's work. If you are new here, come join us on our Discord community on bit.ly/AI Discord. This is where you can join our amazing community where we are sharing our Daily Creative Challenge submissions. So if you're new here, this is the first thing to do. Come join us there. Let's quickly take a look. And guys, honestly, I was mind blown when I saw all of your amazing work. Check this out. This is so cool. This one is from Alexander. And here another one with some fruit pics. How cool is this color palette? It's so vibrant and so fun. Here is another one from amazing beautiful flowers. Picture from Adobe Stock and some amazing colors extracted from there. How nice does this look? You guys did such an amazing job. Again, so many congratulations, and you guys are amazing. So many compliments to you. Cool. Let's see what else we've got here. We got another amazing pastel-y looking color palette here by Sorav. Check this out. How cool. What a nice color combination. And that all seems to be from this image right here. So if you haven't participated in yesterday's challenge, feel free to watch the replay on our Daily Creative Challenge page on behance.net/challenge/illustrator. So friends, let's get started with challenge number 2. And today's challenge is all about complex shapes. I know from experience that designing and creativity is all about experiment, and this is what why we're here. We want to experiment and we want to create new or work on new techniques for you to be able to create in a more effective and creative way using different tools. So this is why we're here. So let's get started. And again, this page is behance.net/challenge/illustrator. This is where you can download the starter file by clicking on Get Started. And once you download the starter file in Illustrator, you can go ahead and open it up in your Illustrator app. And this is what the starter file looks like that I've prepared for you. Cool. Welcome everybody in the chat. We have Miranda, Herman, Wade, Murray here, RB. Cool. Tiana is here, Kimberly. Awesome, guys. Let me know where you all are from. Let me know how you're liking the challenges so far. What's your favorite thing about design? And let's have a conversation in the chat. Cool. So we are going to be working with a Pathfinder tool today. And first and foremost, let's find the Pathfinder tool. And you can find it by going to Window and activating Pathfinder. And this is what our little Pathfinder window looks like. We have some shape modes where you can shape as another shape, and that happens by overlapping different shapes. So for example, I give you a little example. We take our ellipse tool here in the rectangle, we click and hold, then select ellipse. Holding shift, we're creating an even circle, and then we're going to recolor right here at the bottom left, recolor the fill into black, and we're going to remove the outline, going to select none, and we're going to click back to the fill, and we're going to be creating a second circle. Holding option, we're creating a copy of this circle. Now, the shape modes are helping us to shape another shape with a different shape, right? If that makes sense. So think about cookie cutters. So if you have the dough nice and flat and you take 2 cookie cutters and cut something out of the other cookie. So this is by using minus front. So what happened minus front? I have created a copy of a circle, and since this object has been created last, it's at the top, so it's closest to me if you think about it three-dimensionally, right? It's the closest to me, so it's the top object. So if you think about your screen being like a flat surface, like a desk, this shape is laying on top because I've created it last, right? So every shape that you create last is the top object unless you are inside a group, but we are not right now. So now let's say you wanted to bring this object to the top because you wanted to cut out this object from this object. And let's actually take the example of a square or a rectangle. Let's take the rectangle tool, and holding shift, we're going to create a square. Now let's say you wanted to create a half circle and you wanted to cut out this rectangle out of the circle. And let's say you have created the rectangle first and then the circle, but you actually wanted to have the rectangle on the top so you can cut it out from the circle, right? You can go in, right click, arrange, bring to front. That brings our rectangle to the top. Now we are able to select both of these objects and go again into the shape mode and minus front. And here we have a nice half circle. Cool. Now we can also do some really fun stuff with this. So how about we go a little bit more complex and we are going to cut out a star out of this rectangle. So let's go to our star tool, and I'm going to hold shift on my keyboard, click and drag, and create a star. And now we're going to put the star somewhere around here so it fits nicely over the rectangle, and I'm going to make it, let's say, a red color. So something like this. Now let's say I want to cut out this star shape out of this rectangle. I can select both objects, and again I can do a minus front and create something like this. Now we have other tools here as well. We have a unite tool in the Pathfinder as well. The unite tool will help us unite multiple objects into one big object. And here a good example will be, let's say we want to create some like blobby kind of structure, and we have something like this going on. So a bunch of circles that are kind of supposed to create a blob together. So a blob is basically like a cloud or something that has a lot of volume and is just a fun shape. So let's say we want to create this shape, and you can see once I select all of these circles, you can see there are a lot of intersections. It's quite complex. What I want to do is I want to create an outline out of all of these shapes, right? And for that, I'm going into the unite mode. So I'm going to click unite, and now you can see this object is now one, right? By the way, this is a really cool object already. I'm liking this. So let's put this on the side. But one of my favorite tools, and I think it's a really, really fun tool to play with, is the divide tool. And some of you might know this. And this is what we're going to be doing today. And we're going to be creating a divided kind of arrangement of shapes that we are going to bring onto this canvas. All right, cool. Having the snap tool activated really helps here. Yeah. That is true. And I always recommend here in the view to have smart guides on. Smart guides really help you arrange objects next on top of each other or next to each other. So let's say I have a circle and I want to create another copy. And now since I'm moving the circle, you can see all of these pink lines that help me find, let's say, the center between these circles, right? So that is called smart guides, and they really help you design with precision, and you don't really have to be, aligning objects all the time. It really helps you place them in the right spot right away, right? So it's definitely really good to have the smart guides on. I mostly never use the snap functionality, but I guess if you have snap to glyph, you can, for example, work with typography. Snap to pixel is also very helpful if you work in terms of pixels. So if you are very precisely working on something very kind of highly pixelated, you can snap to pixel. And so on. There is also snap to grid, but I love smart guides, and smart guides kind of unite a bunch of these things and bring them together into this very smart kind of functionality. Cool. You do this instead of using Adobe Shape Builder? Yes. So you can, of course, also use the Shape Builder to do this. So for example, let's say we have multiple ellipses or multiple circles in this case. And what the shape builder does, you can see right now it looks like one big blob, but really those are 3 circles at this moment. So the shape builder you can also find in your tool panel, and what it does, it literally shows you right now in this wonderful tooltip. So what it does is it unites objects that you kind of select with this tool. So first, of course, we have to select the circles, and then we're going and selecting the shape builder tool, and then we can go in and unite only some of the objects. So for example, we can create something like this, right? But why I like the Pathfinder tool so much is because there are so many options to do specific things. So you can either select multiple shapes and unite them. You can minus front. You can create an intersection of 2 objects. So what exactly is an intersection actually? Let's say we have 2 circles, and literally if we look at this tool icon, we can already see what's going to happen. So the intersection is basically going to select or create this shape that is the intersection of the 2 circles. So basically this, right? Now we also have this exclude option. And again, it's very easy to understand what is going to happen here. And it's going to remove this shape that's in the intersection and leave everything else behind. All right. So there are also a lot of other tools in the Pathfinder, but today we mostly want to work with a divide tool. And I think the divide tool is super, super cool because you can also use it in combination with line. So let's say, and also this is something that I was working on here. You can see these are a bunch of shapes that have been divided from a rectangle through a line, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to first create a rectangle, and I'm going to be using the rectangle tool. And by the way, to access all the other tools within this within the shape tool, you can go in and click and hold and select whatever tool you want to select, right? So in this case, the rectangle tool, and we're going to be creating something that looks like let's say a painting or some type of image arrangement within this canvas. So maybe it could be a poster, it could be an invitation card, it could be anything you want it to be. You can of course also go horizontal, whatever you prefer. So now we have this rectangle, and I am going to go and select the pencil tool. And the pencil tool you can also find in this panel down here, and you can also use the shortcut N to access the pencil. Now, one thing that I love doing, so double clicking into this tool, you can access this tool options panel, which is really helpful when defining the fidelity of the pencil tool. And what is the fidelity actually? So if I have it set to accurate, the fidelity is going to show the exact stroke that I'm drawing, right? So it might be imperfect here, it might be a little edgy, but if I set the fidelity to smooth, you can see that what I'm drawing right now, it does not look that great. But after I let go, Illustrator helps me to kind of simplify this path and to make it more rounded and to kind of create perfection in my path, right? So I love to smoothen out my path. Of course, you can select a high fidelity as well if you really want the stroke to be representing your hand stroke that you did with your mouse or whatever you sketched with. By the way, I am currently working with a mouse, so if you have a sketching pad or something, that's also perfectly fine. And what I'm going to be doing right now is I am just going to be doing some random drawing in here. So I just take the pencil tool and I literally just kind of draw things, and I make sure that there is no space that's kind of no space that's too large, right? That's in between here, so that we have shapes that are somewhat similar in size. Of course, there is a high variety. We have some small shapes right here, we have some large shapes right here, but just make sure to cover kind of the whole surface. And now we have this path that I drew with my pencil. Now we're going back into the selection tool, and I'm going to select both of these things, so the path and the rectangle. And I'm going to go into the shape mode called divide right here. And once I click divide, you can see if I double click in any of these shapes, the line has been cut into my rectangle. So now I can simply pull out these shapes and yeah, create something fun out of this. Because why not, right? And you can see, so as opposed to creating a custom shape by using geometry, for example, you know, creating a combination of circles or like the usual stuff that we do to create shapes. This technique will help you really find shapes that are very random and very different and very unique. And this is the reason why I find it so helpful. Now we can not only use the pencil drawing technique, and let's set this by side. We can also create a bunch of, let's say, circles or rectangles. So I'm going to, or you can also work with polygons, of course. And I wanted to share one quick trick with you with the Polygon tool. So once you select the polygon and you start drawing the polygon, do not let go, keep it active, and then click the up and down arrow on your keyboard. And you can see by clicking up and down, you're adding more and more corners. So by clicking up, you're adding more, and by clicking down, you're adding less. So this is also a very easy way to make a triangle. Cool, right? So there's just another real quick tip for you, but let's create something with polygons. And again, I'm going to create a shape so that it's kind of like a composition that I have in the background, and I'm going to sample one of these colors here just because I don't really want to see so much red. I'm already wearing red, everything in the background is red, so let's select a nicer, warmer tone here. And I think this blue is super cool and super kind of harmonizing with my vision. For some reason, I just find it very comforting, a very comforting color. So I'm going to use the eyedropper tool, letter I on my keyboard, and I'm going to sample this blue color. Or you can select any color from this board, whichever you want. Maybe I'm even going to go for this lighter blue. All right, so now that we have our shape, let's go in and lock it with Command and 2. So now we have locked the shape and we cannot really do anything to it anymore. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a bunch of rectangles, which are going to be rectangles that I'm going to be kind of looking how I can create custom shapes with that, right? So I'm literally drawing a bunch of rectangles. You can see if I change the color in them that they're just a bunch of rectangles, or actually squares. You can of course go in and make it more random by really creating rectangles. So I can even go in and create some rectangles, and they can all intersect and yeah, kind of create a little composition like that. And it almost kind of looks like an abstract painting, don't you think? So yeah, this is super fun to play with. Now, what else can we do? We can of course combine the shapes. We don't have to just create shapes that have angles. We can also create a couple circles in between, because why not? Because we can, right? So let's create that. And now we have a combination of circles, rectangles, squares, and we're going to be creating another shape that's going to be with a rectangle tool right underneath. And the reason why we have this light blue color in the background is just so that we have a shape that we can take the orientation from. That's going to be basically the background of our shape composition, if that makes sense. All right, so now I have created this rectangle on top, and since my background is locked, I can select all of the objects, and I know for sure that I'm only selecting this blue rectangle that I just created, then the bunch of blue rectangles I created earlier, and the bunch of circles, right? So I'm selecting all of these objects that I've created, and I'm going into the Pathfinder and clicking divide. So now you can see that I can remove some shapes from here. And to kind of better control that, I'm going to go in and outline. So I'm going to go in and swap the outline with the fill. And now you can actually see what I have been designing here, right? What I have created. And I can, for example, go in and remove this shape. And you can see that those shapes are already very, very interesting. Check this out. I have this really cool shape. Then let's find a couple shapes that are very, very interesting and that are kind of intriguing to us. And let's swap the fill with the outline here so that we can kind of create ourselves a little set of shapes that we're going to be using. All right, so how about I just select a couple random ones right here and right here. And I'm going to make them all blue so I can see what I've selected. There we go. All right, and you can see we're getting this like really interesting kind of almost mechanical looking kind of feel to whatever we're getting. And we can also kind of grab a couple objects that look a little bit more simple, so we don't only have complex shapes like this one, but also a simple almost rectangle looking shape. So let's do that as well in a couple maybe smaller shapes with that, so something like that. All right, so, and by the way, this is all just experimenting, and I want you to experiment with this too. And we're going to be creating a composition with this afterwards. Now, of course, you can reuse these or you can simply drag them to the side. We don't really need that anymore. Let's ungroup. So Command Shift and G. Right now they're all acting as a group, but I have ungrouped them with Command Shift and G. And now I'm going to pull all of these to the side because I don't need them right now. I have selected a couple of my favorites. And now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a composition with those shapes. So I'm done with a Pathfinder tool, and I'm going to be now kind of putting these shapes together into this one big shape. And you can go ahead and kind of imagine yourself a little layout. So let's say we have a layout that's within this specific distance. So I'm going to go in and create myself a little frame that I can kind of arrange these shapes into. And you can see, you can be very creative with how you arrange those, and you can also resize them as well if you want. So this technique, and here again, I have a little kind of over, a little piece that goes over the shape because we want to create a little bit of irregularity, right? We don't want everything to be completely perfect. While we are kind of arranging these shapes to perfectly match the rectangle kind of guide that we've created, we also want to create some imperfection in here. So this is just perfect for this scenario. Now, how to create balance in this composition? And I think imagine kind of these shapes as kind of objects that guide your eye. Right? So what is happening, for example, with this object right here? It guides your eye this direction, right? So your eye kind of follows this line and it goes into the next shape. What does the next shape do, right? Maybe it makes sense to guide our eye to this shape, and then this shape guides our eye to the next one right here. And then this one guides our eye to this one, right? So create a little flow of how your eye kind of perceives this information. And you can totally have control over this, right? And you can also feel free to turn these shapes around and create variations of that. And here, for example, we can create a nice little transition in the line, right? So we can create a little line that kind of follows from one object to the other. Again, and this is all to create this composition, right? Cool. Yeah, this does look like Tetris, I do have to admit. So, and now I am going to be reusing this object to kind of create a repetition and also create connection between some of these objects. And now it almost starts looking like architecture, right? When we're thinking of windows and how like windows are arranged in a piece of architecture. So I would like you all to experiment and to kind of see what you can do for yourself and see how you can arrange these objects. And I think this is a really fun exercise to kind of to see that you can be creative with objects, and you don't always have to reuse all the same geometric ones, right? So I'm going to create another copy and put it right here. And now this almost looks like a three-dimensional O, right? So just bring in some imagination into this, and maybe you can even turn around some of these and place them in different spots. Cool. Yeah, how fun is this exercise? I'm going to remove my guide, and now this is my composition that I kind of came up with. And you can also, of course, unlock this background by clicking Command Option and 2. And you can also create a background for your design. All right, and I'm going to sample this dark blue color, send it to back. All right, so my friends, and then we're going to be exporting this this exploration by going to File, Export, and Export As, and then you can feel free and post this image to our Discord under the challenge hashtag. Whew. All right, my friends. So I'm looking forward to your submissions on our Discord, and I'm hoping you enjoyed this challenge. Feel free to experiment with shapes, even combining them, or maybe you can even submit multiple explorations that you want to put into the Discord. I'm super excited. I'm going to post mine now, and I'm hoping you all had fun with this one, and I will see you tomorrow for the next Daily Creative Challenge. Stay tuned for the program, and have a nice day. Bye-bye. Wow.